Hi guys, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be learning what are demerit goods and why are demerit goods overconsumed. Now, when economists are basically studying goods, right, they differentiate between various types of goods, between private goods, public goods, economic goods, free goods. They also try to understand or classify goods based on how beneficial or harmful they are. And for that reason, they have come up with two different classifications, that is merit and demerit goods. So we need to study what they are. And this video is about demerit goods. So demerit goods are basically those goods and services that are harmful for individuals and also for society when they are consumed, and they're basically seen as undesirable. In fact, they're more harmful. The correct definition that you can write in the exam is that they're more harmful than individuals realize themselves, right? And what we observe is, what economists have observed is that they are overprovided by the market, and as a result, they are overprovided by the free markets, where you have consumers and producers who are acting in their own self interest, and as a result, they're overconsumed if they will be completely left to the free markets. Right, the free markets will overprovide them, and hence they will be overconsumed, resulting in welfare losses and undesirable outcomes for society. So the examples that you can give for demerit goods are, and usually students are only giving examples like cigarettes and alcohol, while there are much more to demerit goods, like cigarettes, alcohol, even sugary drinks. Sugary drinks have a lot of sugar that could cause diabetes. Junk food, not good for our body's health. Gambling, vaping, these are all examples of demerit goods. And the problem with demerit goods is that demerit goods, there's an element of information failure attached to it. That is information failure, and we'll learn what information failure is down the video as well. First, let's see that why are we classifying these goods, like why are we classifying cigarettes, alcohol, sugary drinks, junk food, unhealthy food, fast food, all of this as demerit goods. Why are we doing that? The reason is because these goods have negative private effects, or the private benefits are harm. I mean the private of the private effects that these goods have on individuals are actually harmful. The person who's going to consume them will have harmful effects, and he might not realize it himself, right? So although these goods might give you some temporary satisfaction, but then the private cost is quite high, much more than what the individuals realize themselves. Not only are these goods harmful for the person consuming it, but also they have negative externalities, that is a negative spillover cost, which we discussed in the previous YouTube video. These are costs that are imposed on third parties in the society, right? So these demerit goods have negative externalities associated as well, right? For instance, the more unhealthy your society is, the more unhealthy population you have, because you have a lot of people, let's say in Pakistan, suffering from heart diseases and high cholesterol and diabetes. You're putting a huge burden on the healthcare system of Pakistan, let's say, for instance, or the healthcare system would have a huge strain. A lot of the resources that should have been allocated to probably infrastructure, or maybe on different investments, would be dedicated to dealing with such situations in which you're actually trying to cure a workforce or population that is quite unhealthy, and that is an opportunity cost. So this is all part of third party negative externalities, and that would also mean that more taxes would have to be collected to fund or finance those treatments for people who are sort of so unhealthy. So this is like quite a deeper way or different way of looking at these negative externalities. But negative externality, you see, doesn't really have to do just with pollution and things. Like negative externality could have a long-term third-party spillover effect as well, just like I'm discussing right now. Right. Apart from that, consumers often underestimate these harms. They don't really look into these harms because they're already suffering from information failure. So, and what this results into is that this results into market failure. And I want you to write this down as I speak. The word market failure, where free markets are failing to allocate resources efficiently from a society's perspective. Because the free market is producing and consuming more than is what is socially desirable, or what is socially the optimum level. Right? So these demerit goods are overconsumed beyond the socially optimum level. And the reason why these demerit goods are overconsumed as well, which you should be knowing because it will be important for your analysis in your 8 and 12 markers. Is because so when you say that demerit goods are overconsumed, it means that demand is more than what it should be. So if I sort of draw a demand and supply diagram for this, so if this is D1 and this is S1, then D1 is the demand that it should be. So Q1 should be the production and consumption of demerit goods, but the demand for demerit goods is actually D2. So demand is D2 while it should be D1, and as a result, you see that the consumption is Q2 while it should be Q1. So more is consumed in this market than and provided in this market than is socially desirable, right? So, and one reason that we associate is that consumers don't have perfect information. Consumers lack perfect information, and this is simply information failure at its play. This is information failure, which is the key word that you will write in the exam. Information failure, guys. Now, information failure simply means that information failure arises because consumers do not recognize how good or bad a particular product is for them. And this could be because they don't have the right information or they simply lack some relevant information, right? For an information failure could be, so information failure could have many forms, like the information could be misleading, it could be incorrect, it could be incomplete. All of this is information failure, right? And you see, the thing is that even when you're talking about these cigarettes and vape, in some countries, labeling is done on consumer products like food, drinks, even cigarettes, which tell people, like, tobacco products which sort of contain a labeling about reasons that they should stop or limit the consumption of this product. But the thing is that this information is although available to consumers, then this should enable them to make rational decisions that would maximize consumer welfare. However, the opposite is actually happening. Although if there is enough information that is making these markets to function efficiently, then we'll say that there's efficient resource allocation. But that's not what economists observe in the free markets, right? So consumers suffer from information failure. Consumers are not aware of the benefits or the harmful effects of consuming a particular product. Maybe the advertising is done in such a persuasive manner that the consumption levels of these demerit goods are not in the best interest of the consumers. The advertising makes it look very cool or very catchy, such that the consumers think it's sort of maybe cool to vape or something, but it's not in the best interest of the consumers. Or when the product's packaging gives a misleading or an inaccurate picture. So while the producers definitely know more than the consumers, producers know how harmful these goods are. So there's an imbalance that exists between what producers know and what consumers know. That is clear-cut market failure, right? Clear-cut market failure. So another reason why these demerit goods are overconsumed is also because these demerit goods are also addictive and habit forming. So, and by the way, when we say that consumers don't have perfect information, they also don't have information regarding the health risk as well. Like they know on the back of their mind, consumers might know that yes, this is not good for my health, but to what extent could this be good? They might not be able to think rationally in that sense. We know that how cigarettes could cause long-term cancer risk and how alcohol causes liver damage. And they might not be able to predict that what will be the future cost of my medical bills or all of that and all. Plus, cigarettes and alcohol, they reduce productivity at work as well. So if you're suffering from alcohol addiction, you're not a good employee. You're also making your boss suffer and your work suffer, and you're causing a decline to your company's profit. So this is third-party negative externalities, right? Obviously, others suffer around you as well. So, and also you have some indirect harm. People who are gamblers and excessive alcohol drinkers, and they indulge into certain crimes and all of that. So this is also part of it, right? So people are actually underestimating the true private costs associated with alcohol and cigarettes and vaping and junk food and all of this. They think that the private cost is only the cost of buying this product, but no, there's more cost to it. The true private cost is quite significantly high, and because they don't really factor that in, they don't really because of information failure, that is why demand is more than what it should be. Right, guys? So there's overconsumption that results from this. There's this information asymmetry. There's a difference in information between what producers know and consumers know. This is known as information asymmetry, right? So also these goods are addictive and habit forming. they psychologically and physiologically make it addictive, right? So it raises the consumption even when the consumer knows the product is harmful. So even, but he knows it's harmful, but it's addictive, so obviously the consumption is more. So this increases the quantity of demerit goods consumed above the socially optimum level, right? And we've already discussed previously as well that we have negative externalities. So the individual is going to ignore these negative externalities. I mean, uh, see, these demerit goods, they create a spillover cost on society, right? Uh, so, for instance, cigarette smoking. So, secondhand smoking, pollution. I mean, even the smoke from the cigarette itself is not really having a positive impact on the environment and the air, right? Alcohol consumption results into accidents, crime. It reduces the workers' productivity. Gambling, as some economists also economists or some textbooks say, gambling is a demerit good as well. It causes family problems, bankruptcy. There's a government welfare cost of rehabilitation for excessive gamblers and alcoholics, right? So again, unnecessary cost of the government that could have been devoted to more productive outcomes is devoted to these rehab centers. So private consumers are ignoring these external costs, and the free market equilibrium is definitely going to lie above the socially efficient equilibrium level. So more is consumed than what it should be, right? And the advertising has a very huge role to play as well, because they appeal emotionally, and the celebrity endorsements and all of that, and flashy packaging and all of that. So advertising increases demand beyond rational levels, right? Also, even this your low perceived price point is also mentioned at times in the marketing scheme as well. That many demerit goods are actually quite cheap relative to, you know, yeah, I mean they're actually quite cheap. For instance, let's say I'll tell you something. See, junk food is very cheaper than healthy food. If you go out in the market, try to get healthy food that is actually very nutritious and very healthy, low fat food, it's more expensive than junk food, right? So similarly, sugary drinks very cheaper than, let's say, healthy let's say bottled water. Or even if you talk about cigarettes, these cigarettes are often sold loose in quite, let's say, developing countries. In Pakistan, we have seen cigarettes being sold out loose as well. So a lower income group would be, or a kid could easily, or a teenager could easily access them. So they're not only low priced, but they result in high immediate pleasure. So there's huge amounts of quantity that is being demanded, right? So that is why we say, and when we've used the word overconsumption simply means consumption exceeds the socially optimum level. So demerit goods are harmful goods that people overconsume, because the reason is that people underestimate their true cost. So the free market consumption, guys, is much more than a socially optimum consumption that causes a welfare loss and it results into market failure. This will be super good analysis for your exam. Right, guys? So I hope you understood this video and enjoyed it as well. If you did, share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all around in the next video, which will be on merit goods. Until then, take care.